Good morning. Welcome back to the Ahn Rho Project, self-therapeutic multimedia project for me to solve the problems and challenges in my life. All right. Today we'll start off with, what you see is what you get. If you take a look in the title, as well as on the side here on the photographs that we have, as well as in the backdrop. So whatever the background, what's here on the list of these two images here, as well as let me try to add some effects here. As well as the title itself, you can tell it's, I guess, a recap of the 6 weeks to about 2 months, so about 6 to 8 weeks, how everything has just kind of gone to shit. And, oh, that's not really, the effect there doesn't really match how things work. But, long story short, we've had a whole, everything's a real mess. And I want to cover essentially all the things that have happened leading up to it. So the introduction, before we dive into things, as usual, is, this is a self-therapeutic multimedia project for me to solve the problems and challenges in my life. It's also a survival game in sorts in real life. It's a, what are the other things I say in my bio or description? It's a way for me to destroy and rebuild my life from scratch. And, the Ahn Rho Project includes all the different domains of life and includes many different sub-series from, I suppose, inventory management over to, taking care of my caregivers. So it involves all the different domains of life, from finance to relationships to money and inventory and hobbies and employment and volunteering and everything, just back to back. And it's really supposed to be eventually a time capsule as well, for me to look back on maybe 30 years down the road. And so that's how, I'm trying to reform into a new introduction, but quite honestly, I haven't practiced it enough. Especially I haven't been live streaming. I fell off for 3 weeks, because everything just, I said, everything went to shit for about 6 to 8 weeks. I managed well for the first month or so, and then I stopped live streaming after the 5th week into it. And that was after I actually made a week-long break at the beginning as well of this 2-month period, because I couldn't handle what's coming up. And then I recovered for about 5 weeks, and then I went off again for 3 weeks. So we're just going to cover in this live stream, the first of 2 live streams today. Oh yeah, that's how I used to start my streams, right? Yeah, I'm not even in the habit of live streaming, so I'm not exactly sure how to say that. Even the introduction today was very long-winded, and it was, kind of hazy and confused. I was jumping all over the place, but I suppose I'll get better with it, as time, goes by in the next couple of days, as I start to get myself back up to speed. Long story short, the first live stream today, you take a look on the side here, chaos and about 150 tasks. 150, I guess, sub disciplines or subdomains of life to take care of. Working down to, if you look at the highest level of hierarchy, about roughly 30 to 40 high level topics. What do I mean by that? So relationships, finance, employment, activities. These would all be considered high level abstraction. So things like, the highest category, the most general breakdown of life. And then you break it down further. So you might break down relationships to, friends and relatives, and then to co-workers. You might break down, for example, finance into your banking, into your investment, into your employment. Organizations, you might break that down into volunteering organizations, to prospective ones, to your volunteer gigs, to your own business, stuff like that. And so that's what I mean by sub-disciplines. So sub-disciplines went up to about 110 to 150. That's a rough guess. Over the past 6 weeks, everything just went to shit all at the same time. I know that sounds a little bit unbelievable, but if you manage a business, you know that I'm talking the truth here. And in terms of tasks, so we break it down to the most basic minutia. In terms of individual task actions, I had over the past week over 1,200 to 1,800 task actions that I need to execute on. Small things, you break it down to the very actions themselves. Each action takes about, anywhere between, 10 minutes to about an hour. And that's why basically I wasn't able to accomplish everything, but you know, it's still my responsibility to get it done. So long story short, let's take a look on the side here and see, you know, an example of what's been going down. So why all the chaos and how I've been trying to lay things out. You can see in the backdrop, obviously, my room's a mess. And obviously, one of the sub-series of my project is to catalog all of the items in here. And before it was clean, there was no mess here. But you know, we're gonna get to that in the second stream today. I'm gonna go through basically about 6 regions broken down into 18 different categories of items here. We're gonna call that a logistic review part 7. So stay tuned for that in the second live stream, wherever you're from, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, you know. But long story short, that's what's going on in the backdrop. And it was very clean, long story short, maybe just about, you know, 6 to 8 weeks ago. None of that garbage there, none of that garbage there, none of this stuff here. And I'm gonna go around my room and I'll show, you know, how things have changed for the worse, and how I have to clean up, again, my personal life like a business. Okay, so back here, what we have for the first live stream, right, is just a listing basically of what we had to do. So it's not a comprehensive list. It's just me really taking about 40 minutes yesterday or the day before and just jotting very quickly all the things at the highest level down. And right here, I took a snapshot on Dropbox. You can see on the second photograph to the furthest right, that's the one right here over my logo, ARP, you see it says basically those are the titles of what I had planned for today. Most likely we'll only be able to get, through 2 live streams, and that's okay, because, you know, we're just getting back into things after 3 weeks off of live streaming. So why don't we start talking about these? Okay, let's cover all the tasks, all the abstract categories of items. So at least in some brief, we're not going to go into detail, but so you see up here, there's at least finance, digital, business, employment, health. That's how I do the short form notes. And you have your own short form notations, but this is how I do it, right? So I have systemic, finance. Systemic means, you know, abstract information. It's basically the entire system of life. If you take your entire life and you include basically the management of life itself, that's where system is. It sits on top of philosophy and your personal life principles. That's basically system. Finance, money. So paying back loans, stuff like that. One of them there is basically paying back my loans, over $30,000 of, you know, government student loans. I paid it all off. I've been working, right, full time for a long time now. But I got rid of it all, so that's good. That's one of them. And then we have digital. So digital, that's kind of having a lot to do with technical issues. So over this month, what really put me to a stop of live streaming actually was not even the fact that I was overwhelmed by all the chaos, like you see in the title, overwhelmed chaos. But what really stopped me was the fact that one of those things that popped up and screwed me over was the Wi-Fi. So I'm living with actually 4 other tenants. So there's actually 3 other tenants plus the landlord in this household. You know, renting out about $450 a month, $500 a month. Long story short, the Wi-Fi went down and then it was not recoverable. We initially thought it was thanks to something going down in China apparently, and it was not having anything to do with their national day. Which, by the way, that's just a separate topic. I'm not getting into politics. I'm just saying, long story short, because of their national week, apparently they have Golden National Week. Apparently all the Wi-Fi cut down, I thought, and so did the landlord, but that's not the case. In fact, it just went down. It just completely shut down and we could not use the Wi-Fi. I could not do any live streaming. So that was one thing I just sorted out, because then we had to get Rogers and stuff like that, right? So there was like that, our old Wi-Fi going down and then getting a new one and then setting that up and then that one failing and I had to buy my own data plan. And so that's just 3 things just on that very small segment. And obviously that doesn't even include the paperwork. So consider that like maybe 10, 15 tasks, subtasks, all dedicated to one subtopic, which is just one subtopic of, you know, 10 to the major topic, which would be digital. So you see right there, so you can get a gist of how many things have happened. So here's 2 digital things, 2 financial things, about 4 systemic things I've listed, 3 business things. So I'm, I guess, running this project, which I consider to be a business eventually. Right now, it's just me just starting out from scratch, and I'm independent. Everything I do, the production, I do the office administration, I do the security and testing and the technical issues myself. All the design and creativity, all the organization and management, I do myself. But then we also have a second business that I started up, and that was related to down here. You see RLTN relationships. So the business and relationships, one of them, two or three of them are connected because so my caregiver, so this is connected to health. So health, business, and relationships, all triple is a triple threat. Again, just all came at once. So my caregiver, health went to shit completely, and it's been a long-term issue. I can't deep dive into it. Long story short, cortisone injection, 30 years of chronic arthritis, breaking down bones, bacterial infection in your bones. If you have relatives who are suffering from that incredible, intense pain, and then, spreading infection, COVID-19, can't see any specialists, any doctors, all that kind of stuff. And then me going into business to a cellular nutritional company that I wanted to start with and partner with one of my colleagues who I volunteer with in the hospital. So volunteering organizations, business, health, right, all interconnected. And so I started with her because I wanted to get the nutritional supplements as a way to help my caregiver recover. So relationships, my caregiver is the one who's having this major disease, but not just her, both of them. My other caregiver, so my father's side, he needs surgery as well. So again, just a lot of shit just happened all at once. So you can imagine everything going back up. And relationships is involved in that because again, for the past, they have had third world issues. They're refugees. So when they raised me, they were, long story short, I'm not going to use the word abuse. I'm just going to say, long story short, they were very punishing over nothing. They were very insecure, and that resulted in me having my insecurities. But long story short, it isn't some sort of blame game. This is my responsibility now to take care of myself. And even though they couldn't raise me properly, they did provide food and shelter. So it's become my obligation. I take on my obligation and say I still have to take care of them because I have to appreciate and be grateful for the food and shelter and clothing. Even if they couldn't teach me, they couldn't be a role model, they did give me the basic necessities of life and brought me to a first world country. Um, or they didn't bring, like they came here and then they had me. But long story short, I have to take care of them. So caregivers, relationships. So you can imagine there's a whole turmoil here because I'm trying to resolve our 3 decade year of broken relationships. We're not a family. We're like three strangers in the same household. And that's a very sad thing to have. I hope none of you have to go through that. But long story short, I'm taking on this obligation of trying to bring them back to full health. I'm trying to get them a job, trying to get them start on their business dreams. One of my caregivers, like I don't hold anything personal. It's just, they had their own issues and I now have my own. And I'm trying to take care of them even though these past 3 decades have been very difficult for all of us. And so all of this just came together. You can see business, organization, volunteering, business, employment, all it just came together. And you can see right here, that's basically that. Okay. And again, I'm missing a lot of detail, but you don't need a lot of detail. You just need to get a gist of, and I'm speaking to basically my future self who's watching this live stream, maybe in 2025, I don't know, if I'm still alive and don't get run over by the bus or anything like that. But long story short, that's the gist of what's been going down. With that being said, this is the end of the first of 2 live streams today. I'm going to move on to the next live stream, which is a logistical review. I haven't had that for about 4 or 5 months, I believe. And so we're moving on to the next live stream. This is the Ahn Rho Project. Thank you for tuning in wherever you're coming from. I'll see you in the next live stream in about 5 minutes. I think that's about how long it'll take for me to get the stream set up. If sooner, then I'll see you in maybe, I don't know, 90 seconds. This is the Ahn Rho Project. See you there.